All right. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of our Entrepreneurship Unscripted, where we talk about all the things that people don't like to address when it comes to actually being an entrepreneur. So not the metrics and the tactics and the strategies and all of those things that there's a million webinars and training programs for, but the actual real stuff behind the scenes that we get to address in our lives that may be stopping us, holding us back, not allowing us to live up to our full potential. So I got Dr. Nima with me again. Hey, Nima, how's it going?
It's going very well, thank you. I'm grateful to just to be having this conversation with you every week. I look forward to it. Hopefully we can connect with people with this message because it's pretty critical.
Absolutely. And we were just chatting briefly before we hopped on here, and I mentioned to Nima that, we're not pre-planning any of the topics that we're doing. We're just kind of naturally letting them happen based on the feedback that we're getting from you, the people that are watching. And honestly, what's going on in our lives even too. There's nothing more relevant than to speak to some of the challenges, the frustrations, the anxiety, the stress, and all of the things that are going on in our real worlds here, because we know that we're not the only ones that are having to go through that stuff. So we want to make sure that we can serve all of you that are watching to the highest degree. Make sure that you have a forum that you can ask questions, you can get feedback, you can talk through these things with us. And at the other end, we'll all be better people. We'll have better businesses. We'll have better relationships with our families, all the important stuff that matters here in life. So
isn't that why we're doing this? Isn't that why we're doing this? Is to create our lives. And so we talk about tactics, but we don't actually talk about what's really going on as far as our creative impulses. And that's why I love having this conversation.
Absolutely. So I'm just popping this feed into a couple of pages and some groups and whatnot too. But if you're just joining us or if you're watching on the replay, welcome. Feel free to still pop in and ask questions because we're always monitoring these. These recordings stay up on the page all the time. And if you are here live right now, let us know. Give us a little shout out, just a hi or a wave. I know there's some really easy things you can do on your end to just click and let us know that you're there.
Where are you at?
Yeah.
Who's there?
Even let us know where you're watching here from. Every week we seem to get a new crew of people, whether it's people over in Australia or here in North America where we are on the West Coast. Both Nima and I are in Vancouver. And getting, some people in the European countries too, although it's getting a little later in the evening for you during our live time. But I know that we have had a few people on as well. So let's see here. Chris, how's it going, Chris? So Chris is in our Expert Selling Machine program right now, and we just did our first group call together with Nima last week, which, by the way, Nima, we had some amazing feedback from everybody because we really took a different approach that wasn't just about the tactics, as I say. It was about, let's talk about some of the wins that you've had, because a lot of times we stop ourselves from realizing or celebrating those even the small wins. And then, of course, our intention for what we're trying to create here, too. And it brought up some really great conversations. And we actually had somebody in our program, I think I mentioned this to you, Manoj, who last time we did this chat within our private group, he had said that, he was having some struggles and getting on the phone with people and wondering whether or not he'd have anything insightful to say. And he was, doing strategy calls with clients, potential clients. And we talked through it with him and got him to realize that, it's only in your head, you're stopping yourself. And how long has this been happening? And let's create a shift on that. And just within this last week, Nima, he closed a deal with a client that's going to last at least 3 months. It's more than paid for his investment. He's, through the moon with excitement over the potential. Yeah, and that's
mindset matters. Mindset matters, and that's why we're talking about this today.
Absolutely. So I get to acknowledge you for that because you allowed him to see the potential in what he can do, and it's just the start. So it's super exciting. And Chris, of course, is in the program as well. I know you had to scoot off a little early last time, Chris, but good to see you here. So anybody else that's joining us, and I know there'll be more people popping on here in a little bit. We just put this out to all the different groups and everything, but let us know where you are. Let us know where you're watching from here today. And while you were doing that, let's just address this topic that we are going to talk about today. And as I mentioned, This is a topic that we didn't have planned before we even finished the last one. Nima and I followed up like 2-3 days later and said, what should we talk about next? And he said, let's talk about our addiction to support, our entrepreneur's addiction to support, meaning that we need to have approval from something, from a sibling, from like a partner rather, even siblings, parents, business partners, whatever it might be. This need that we have to be acknowledged, this need that we have to feel good about what we're doing. And if we don't get that sometimes, or we get it in certain places, how it can create this disconnect or misalignment in what we're actually trying to do and the momentum that we can build in our business. So there's a few specific things that we'll refer to when we talk about this, but this was an important topic because I'm going through this right now. I'm sure many people watching this can say the same thing once you understand kind of the context of what we're talking about. But it is a major thing that I think holds entrepreneurs back in progressing in their business. So Nima, you want to maybe just give some insight into this addiction to support, and we'll just riff on it?
This basically started. I had a conversation with an entrepreneur who was feeling stuck. She wanted to really build her business and just go balls to the wall. But she kept saying on the call with me, my husband just doesn't support me. He just doesn't support me. And it's just totally taking away my power. He's just not giving me the support. Right. And so what happens is we have this vision, we have this dream that we have. And what we don't get is how important this is to us, and that every single human being who's walking through the universe has a set of values, a set of priorities, whether it's spirit, and it expresses itself in different areas of life: spiritual, mental, career, financial, social, family, and physical. And anything that we feel supports our values, we're going to label it as good. And anything that we feel challenges our values, we're going to label it as bad. And we will have a resistance towards it. So because everybody has a different set of values, what happens is you step up and become an entrepreneur. Or in my case, it all started when I wanted to become a chiropractor. My parents wanted me to become a real doctor, and because they didn't really understand that, right? And so I did very well in my chiropractic practice. And then I discovered that I really wasn't getting to the root cause of people's healing. It wasn't getting to the underlying root. So it was on me to just go in and to create my own methodology to actually get to the root cause of people's healing. And so I came up with that. And when I told them I was leaving my six-figure a month chiropractic, I was doing very well in my chiropractic practice. They were like, "Are you kidding me?" And I just was always living in the world of, why don't you support me? Why don't you guys just support what I'm here to do? Why is it that everything that I say, why is it that everything that I suggest, I'm met with massive resistance? And then I realized what I got was that they're not supposed to support me if they don't have the same values as me. The problem happens when I require that support in order to feel worthy, in order to feel powerful, in order to move forward. I interpret their lack of support as I'm not good enough. That's when the problem happens. And it is way more common than you think, and it's very unconscious, and that shows up in a lack of power, a lack of freedom, a lack of being able to express yourself, and resentment as well. And resentment is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. So what happens is we have this fantasy that everyone's supposed to support me. Why can't we all just be kumbaya? But the most successful entrepreneurs are the ones that had the most massive challenge, and they just went inside and they really tapped into their why that was beyond just being liked and being approved of by others. And we're all fighting this battle with our ego, and we're trying to win the war of approval, and there's ways to do it.
So let me ask, of the people watching here right now, can you relate to this? I'd love to hear from you. Pop it into the chat there. Do you have somebody in your life that you feel doesn't support you, that maybe is pulling you down. You have this vision, you have this, this idea of the life you want to create, and maybe there's just some misalignments in the support that you feel that you're getting, whether it be from your spouse, your significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, parents. I know parents can be a big one. You mentioned it, Nima, especially when you go through those big changes and, generational differences even. I know for me personally, Nima, like nobody in my family is entrepreneurial per se. They
want you to play it safe. They're like, what are you doing? Why don't you go out and get a real job?
Yeah.
Why don't you get something with stability and security?
Yeah. And I say that knowing full well too that I've actually always felt a lot of support from my family. They've never said you're crazy for this, even though, and you know what, maybe this is part of my story too. I might be thinking in my head at times like they must think I'm crazy, because for me, my journey took me through, graduating university into a job, saying, all right, never again, building a business, tearing down a business, failing 2 businesses, going through a marriage, having a marriage fail, and then just persisting on this and being at the age of, I think it was, like 2010. So it was like 32 or 33 or something. And I knew that I had to take a leap into this entrepreneur world. And at the time, I actually left where I was living. I moved in with my mom at the age of 32 in Vancouver here. I was sleeping on a blow-up bed for like 6 months, maybe even longer. And she was fully supportive of just saying, like, just go after your dreams, do your thing. But I still had this internal feeling of, holy man, like, what am I doing? Am I a failure right now, or am I following my dreams? And getting that support that we feel like we need sometimes is the catalyst in us actually building momentum, But relying on it though too can also be the thing that kind of holds us back. Like if we're expecting it from a partner, for example, and we don't get it, we might feel like, all right, we're stuck, right?
Well, that's the thing. You just nailed it. The only people, here's the deal.
I'm going to go close my door because I got a leaf blower outside. I'll be right back.
No problem. The only people that we require support from are the ones whose opinion that we have on a pedestal. So I can't specifically require the support of somebody. Hey, Trev, could you hear me there? You couldn't hear me there before.
I could.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. The only people whose support that I need are the people whose opinions, who I've put on a pedestal, who I've seen as above me. Okay.
Yeah.
And we do that with we do that with our parents because we want their approval. So my story is always, why don't my parents, approve of me? Until I changed my perspective and I got their approval of me out of my mind, and I just went right within, was the time where they totally just were like, wow, I totally have, there was total approval, but it wasn't immediate. It didn't happen right away. It happened when I let go of the need for it. So anybody whose opinion of us that we put on a pedestal, they're the only ones whose approval that we seek. For example, if you're walking down the street and there's a homeless person and he turns to you and he goes, that shirt on you looks like shit. You actually wouldn't care. Yeah. Hey, Hadia, what's up? You actually wouldn't care, would you? Why? Because the person whose opinion the person that you don't have on a pedestal, the only people whose approval that we require are the ones that we've put above us. And what this is whenever this happens, Trevor, it's wise for us to look and see what is it that we feel that they have that we don't have. So if I want someone's approval, what's going to happen is I have a meeting later with an executive that I have a meeting with. And if I check in and I'm like, ooh, geez, I really hope he likes me, and I can perceive that I have his approval, what I'm encouraging you to do now, what you're supposed to be doing if you really want to transcend this, is to look at those feelings and symptoms as symptoms that you're subordinating. So the first question that you want to ask, number one, whenever you are catching yourself trying to win the war of approval, the first question that you want to ask is this. You got to write this down, is What is it about them? What trait do I feel that they have that I don't have? Okay? So you might think wealth, or you might think intelligence. You might think they have style, or they have a nicer, lifestyle, or whatever. Okay? That's what you want to ask, because the war of approval is only happening when we subordinate to another person. Okay? So think of the times where Trevor, where you're hanging out with somebody, like you're good friends with Mike, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you wonder, oh my God, I hope he likes me. I hope he doesn't like me. It's not like that with him, is it?
No.
Because you don't have him up here on a pedestal. You know his good points and you know his bad points, and him the same as you. When you have somebody on a pedestal, you can't be authentic with them.
Right.
If I'm afraid of your disapproval, so this is one of the signs. This is what I wanted to tell you. What are one of the signs, okay? One of the signs and symptoms that you are losing in this war of approval is that you are completely losing your self-expression. In other words, you are inauthentic. You're hiding the truth. So I can't be real with you. So in other words, if I'm hanging out with you and you say something to piss me off, Trevor, I'm happy to say, you know what, Trevor, what you just said there crossed a boundary, and I appreciate you not going there. That topic of conversation, that's not cool. Mm-hmm. Because I don't have you on a pedestal. I can't put you in my heart and truly love you if I have you up here. Okay?
Yeah.
So when you have a lack of self-expression and you're inauthentic with somebody, that's the first sign that you're losing the war of approval. So the answer to that, these are the skills. This is what I teach my clients. And what you're going to do is you're going to ask the question, what trait do they have that I feel that I don't have? And then the second part is you want to ask the question, where do I display that trait in my own form? Okay, and you're going to look and you're going to see all of the places in your life. So let me give you an example. Let's try this. Trevor.
Yes.
Who have you lately, if you can let's look at who lately in your life, let's do a session. Let's do a session on this.
Okay,
let's do a call. Who in your life have you noticed that you've been kind of tiptoeing around and not being 100% authentic with because you fear their disapproval? Get as real as possible. And by the way, I'd like you, if you're listening, paying attention, write in the comment section. Let's all play this game together. All right? I want this to be participatory. Write in the comment section who you have been fearing the loss of approval towards. Who have you been blocking your self-expression? Who have you been tiptoeing around, walking on eggshells? Who has that been?
To be honest, it's probably my wife.
Perfect. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's do that. That's a great one. So let's do this. So what trait about her, now that you know who it is, okay? Yeah. What is the one specific trait that you have, your family, Pearl? Good. Pick one specific person in your family. Okay, you pick Charm. Okay. What about your wife, Trevor, do you have on a pedestal? What trait about her do you think that she possesses that you don't possess? Think of the trait.
It's probably just money management, I would say.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So it's a management. Yeah. So she's better at management. Okay, great.
Yeah,
perfect.
I would say so.
Good. So the trait of being a good manager with money, she owns. You feel that you own it. And what's happened is you disown it. You feel that you don't have that.
Yeah.
So when you feel that you don't have that, you become humble. You put yourself down. You put that other person above you. You now have a discrepancy of power.
Yeah.
Now you're worried about that person's approval. You can't really put them in your heart. Think about that. What's the impact? What's the impact of putting her up on a pedestal?
Well, it puts all the responsibility on her to own that part of our relationship is probably the biggest thing. And I think it creates a big burden, something heavy on her shoulders, that she feels like she constantly has to be the one looking at the risk reward factor, and then therefore she looks at me as being risky and somebody that she can't trust.
And that breaks down the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to own your power. The answer to that is not by changing her, is by turning within. And I created this method called the overview method, which is a derivative of Byron Katie's work and John DeMartini's work and all of that. That what we do is we shift the perception so that you can own your power, and then your energetic dynamic completely shifts. And this is what we do with our clients. And I have a program that actually helps people with that. And so let's do it. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
So here's the question that I have for you. Let's look. Where do you own the trait of management in your own form? Let's look in all areas of life. So in all areas of life, there's spiritual, there's mental and education, then there's career, vocation.
Yeah.
Then there is financial, which is she's the one that's empowered there. Then there's social, and then there's family management, and then there's physical, health, beauty, vitality.
Yeah.
So, Trevor, where do you own your power of management?
I would say the top one for me is career, because I'm, totally committed to mastering building a business that is built around lifestyle, that puts family first, which, I say that in contradiction too, because family ultimately becomes number two for me, Don't
worry about that. But let's just only look for the power. So you have good management when it comes to your business. Are you good with your time management and being able to fit everything in?
Yeah, definitely. It's a skill that I built over time, for sure.
Good. I want you to feel that now. I want you to feel the time management power that you have. Now you're going to breathe it and you're going to put it into your body. Look at all of the times where you've had management power with time, with your family. Are you great at managing your son?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on daddy duty right now. He's sleeping over on the floor right here. So
and you're managing to work
at
the same time. Great. Yeah. Can you see that that's a power that she doesn't possess to the same degree as you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I want you to sit with that one for a moment and really feel that.
Mm-hmm.
Feel that and own that power. Where else do you own the power of management?
I would say in the mental side of things, because I'm always striving to surround myself with people that can help hold me up to a higher degree of where I'm at right now. I feel like that growth
social and mental management, you're really chipping away at and working towards.
Yeah, definitely.
You're moving forward with it.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I want you to look at all of the times now where you've been able to mentally manage, and the management that you did by reaching out to me in the first place and then helping Charm. That's management. You were managing her mindset there.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Bring that in. Feel that. I want you to own that. Good.
Yeah.
So see what's happening right now is that if you have her on a pedestal for management of money, you're not owning your own power.
Mm.
It's not supposed to be. In a family dynamic, you're not all supposed to have the same. If you and her both had the exact same values, one of you would be completely unnecessary. One of you would be redundant.
Yeah.
That's why you have that. She has that as a power, and that's what she loves to do. You have it in the family. The thing is that the only reason why she's resenting it probably is because you haven't owned it, that's your power.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's no doubt.
You're subordinating to that, and then the approval is needed, and that energetic discrepancy blocks you from loving her.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And
sit with that one for a moment.
Yeah. And this is something that obviously we did some work on this a few months ago even too, and it's been since the time that we actually worked together in our weekend workshop, I've taken the initiative myself to own that side of it so that I can take that burden off of her, so that I can actually show up. Yeah.
And can you see that using your management skills with business, company, family, you've been able to step up and do that since that breakthrough?
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So here's the next question that you're going to want to ask, okay? Because now you've owned that that's what you have. What you're going to ask is, what is the benefit?
Oh, still got you, Nima?
Can you see me?
Oh, there we go. I can hear you now. Yeah, I think you just froze. There we go. We're good. So what is the benefit?
Yeah. So what you're going to ask now is, what's the benefit of the form that you have of management to the family, to her, to the family dynamic?
The benefits, I would say, it's just in creating the stability where her mind maybe tells her that there is instability. So me being consistent in being that strength in this relationship allows for her to be able to trust more in my ability to.
What's the benefit to the kids? What's the benefit to the kids that you have this form versus the financial?
I think it creates an opportunity for us to actually be more present with our kids when we're there, and to create some structure too in the way that we want to raise them, because there's a lot of outside forces that will tell you that you're not good at parenting even too, when you run into your kids screaming in the grocery store, and it's definitely an area that I have a much more calm nature to myself when it comes to that. So I can bring that into this family unit for sure.
Beautiful. Yeah. So essentially what we're doing is we're getting you to own your power and bring that pedestal down. And now you're not fighting that war of approval. You're now owning your power. The energetic dynamic completely shifts. Mm-hmm. And the way that you win the war of approval is by loving yourself and the other person through it, for their values. Because here's what you got to understand, this whole addicted to support. The way that we overcome our fear of rejection and our addiction to support, because we all have it in a certain level. We're all just graduating to a new level of a war of approval. We always transcend one. Remember when your parents' approval is so important, then you transcend that, and then now it's about being liked by the opposite sex and your teachers, and then you transcend that, and then now you can run a company, and then once you have a company, it's like you want the approval of all your clients and all of the staff, and then you transcend that, you want the clients, and then it's always you're graduating to a new level of subordination. We're always doing that. But the way that we transcend that is by getting at every level that everyone's got a set of values, and the way we overcome our need for support and approval is our fear of rejection is by dissolving our fear of dissolving our need for support and approval. And here's how you do it. You got to really get this, is that when people are supporting and approving of you, it's not you they're actually supporting and approving of. What do you think it is?
It's their own internal approval.
It's their values. Okay. So let me give you an example. Let's say I have a shirt right here, and it's got the Vancouver Canucks on it. And I know you love hockey, and I know you're a Canucks fan. Yeah. So I go here, and then you go, Nima, I really love your shirt. And then I go, oh my God, I have Trevor's approval. I'm so freaking happy about that.
Yeah.
What are you really supporting in that moment? You're supporting
my
yourself.
My own values, the things that I actually hold high. For sure.
So when people are supporting you, it's not you they're actually supporting. It's the perception in that moment, freeze framed in time, that what you're saying and doing is supporting their values.
Right.
The second you say or do something or wear a shirt that challenges their values, they withdraw their support.
Yeah.
And then you think, oh my God, I'm not worthy. The problem happens when we interpret that as I'm not worthy. That robs us of our power, our freedom, and our self-expression.
Yeah. And I think this is expressed a lot of times by people as being that Oh shoot, I just had a good thought there. What was it? That's my short-term memory loss right there. That people are, that a person can say to themselves, like, I don't like conflict, so therefore I'm not going to wear my jersey of my favorite team because it might create that conflict of somebody else saying, like, I don't approve of you. That's one of the things that comes to mind, because I know people that, and maybe just chime in if you guys feel this way as well, that, when we even do our coaching with our team right now through our mentoring program, there's times when people feel as though they're like fearful to even get on a phone call with somebody, for the fear that that person might not see things the same way as them, or that they might feel like they're going to run into a conflict that's contradictory to the approach that they might take in the methodology of their business or whatever it might be, and then that's paralyzing for that. Literally paralyzing for people. Yeah.
I got just the thing for that. So this one simple tool that I was going to talk to you about that was going to overcome this. And here it is. I would love to share with you this whole need for approval and all of that stuff. Have you ever gone and the ones that are most, Pearl says this makes a lot of sense. The ones that are the most disapproving are the ones that failed before in business and love me, so they don't want to see me get hurt financially. Bingo, Pearl. You just nailed it. You just nailed it. Because what happens is that if you don't really get that and get out of yourself and go into what I call overview, which is the name of the method that I created, to look down, what'll happen is you'll incorrectly, Pearl, assume that they're not supporting you, when in fact, what they're doing is a form of support.
Yeah,
it just hurts because they're just trying to protect you from their own pain.
Yeah.
And they should. That's love. That's love.
Yeah.
So that shift in perspective gives you power and go, you know what? Thank you guys so much. I'm so appreciative of your point of view. You just don't want me to fail because it's incredibly painful. They should know better than how hard it is. They should know better. There's a should. Really? Let's look at that. Should they really know better than how hard this is? No, they shouldn't. They should know that it's very difficult, because building a business, going on an uphill climb is difficult, and they don't want to see their daughter and the person close to them suffer.
Yeah.
So that's the key. So I have this tool that helps you. In any moment, if you're scared to make a phone call, in any moment, if you're afraid to launch your new business or to jump in and get coaching, okay? To jump in and get help, a mentor to actually help you get to where you want to go, or you're having a challenge in your mindset that's really blocking you, it's just not working for you. You do this one exercise, and I call it the deathbed conversation. Okay? Have you ever gone to see somebody as they're dying?
Have I? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Unfortunately, yes.
What was that like for you?
Well, in my personal experience, it was with somebody that was close to my grandma that I basically grew up with as a young kid. And
And what was her communication to you like when she was lucid and talking to you and it was all happening and we knew what was going on and all of that?
Well, it was a long process with her because she had Alzheimer's, but I know in the times when she could communicate, it was difficult because, we were losing parts of her very quickly in those moments over like a year. Yeah.
Okay. So over a year. So I'm talking about the times where she was lucid with you.
Okay.
And you could talk to her. What was the communication like?
I think when she was knowing that her time was maybe coming to an end pretty quickly, there was a lot of conversations that were a lot deeper than what we normally would have had in the past. They might have been a little bit more surfacey before, and now they were. You could tell that she was internalizing what her experiences in her entire life were like, and wanted to pass along some wisdom.
So here's what you're going to do. I want you to and I would like everybody who's paying attention to do this. I do this with my clients all the time. Whenever you're making a decision or whatever's coming up or you're fearful about moving forward, you're going to have a conversation with yourself on your deathbed.
Mm.
So you're going to pretend you're in the hospice or the hospital or whatever. Everybody's left the room and you walk in and you're having a conversation with yourself. What does that version of you say? I did this exercise yesterday, and I sat down and I downloaded, and this is part of my meditation now. And I basically sit down and have a conversation with that version of myself. And the wisdom that I get from that is pretty incredible. Right? And basically it's what he said. What I said to myself was, step up. You have nothing to fear. Tell the truth. Those that resonate will magnetize. Those haters will drop off. You get to create your life. You are a beautiful, loving soul. And it was like, ooh, just the message I needed. And that was from me to me. And it was very authentic. It was 100%. It was like, oh, exactly what I needed. Because when you're dying and you're connected with your mortality, those people don't give a shit. Those people stop giving a shit what other people think. And they always look back and go, God, I wish I did so-and-so. I wish I had the courage to so-and-so. I wish I had the courage to so-and-so. Step up and speak my truth. I wish.
Yeah.
Right? And that's who you need to connect with.
Is this an exercise that you're doing on a daily basis then, as a part of meditation?
Yes.
A routine?
I just started it. This is part of my routine. And I just download a message from myself. I'm like, what's my message for today?
Yeah.
Because when you're building your business, when you're creating your life, you forget that moment. We forget that moment is coming, but it's coming. And there is nothing more humbling and more, wow, I just really don't give a shit, than that realization. It's very humbling, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And powerful, power inducing. So that's the one simple tool called the deathbed conversation that completely changes everything in terms of the war of approval in any given moment.
Awesome.
And I truly feel it'll change people's lives.
Yeah, I love that, because it's easy, I think, for anybody, not just entrepreneurs, but we're speaking with entrepreneurs here as well, to wake up and maybe feel overwhelmed or feel like you're in a routine that's maybe got you stuck, or that there's something that's holding you back, that you're letting days and weeks and months go by before you actually step up and address it. And you even said it, Nima, like one of the biggest breakthroughs for me, I think, was being able to have to put my ego to the side, to say, you don't have to bootstrap everything. You don't have to figure it all out on your own. You don't have to pretend like you know everything, and instead reach out for support and go into a vulnerable place that says that, you know what, I don't know everything. And I am struggling at times, and I do need people to help talk me through stuff or to point me in the right direction or whatever it might be, whether that be through coaching or mentoring or whatever you want to call it. And it's really an empowering place, and it's something that I think as entrepreneurs we have a tendency to want to feel like we need to figure it all out ourselves, you know. And so I'd encourage everybody, and I thank you for that too, because this is something that I'm guilty of too. So I get to acknowledge that and know that, you know, that I'm human, and that, you know, these kind of things are routines. They become a part of your daily routine if you encourage them and bring them into your life, right? So so I'd encourage everybody watching here to do the same. Hopefully you found value in this. Actually, maybe just chime in if you guys enjoyed the chat that we had here. I think we're going to wrap things up here pretty quickly. Both Nima and I have to run off to some meetings, but let us know in the chat there if something resonated with you during this talk here.
Any questions, anything that you'd like to chat about, or you have a question, just send me a private message, and I'd love to get into communication with you if I can serve in any way. Are there any questions that you guys have? I'd love to answer. What's been challenging you? Where have you been blocked with the war of approval? You know, what are the signs and symptoms? How has that impacted your life? What are you, what's blocking you, what's not working, and how is this war of approval been showing up in your life? I'm curious.
And I'm just going to pop a link into the chat here that you guys are going to be able to click on too. It's just a link over to a video that Nima has as well that I think you'll find really insightful also.
This is for those of you dealing with transitional anxiety in your career, the anxiety of the transition in your career, or there's a relationship limbo happening. The principles I found are the same, and I have the solution, and it's all in that training. So I'd like for you to check it out and then reach out to me and let me know what shows up for you, and I'd love to have a conversation.
Okay, I'm going to type this in there right now. That's what I was actually just going to the page, Nima, to see how you referred to that. So transitional anxiety.
Transitional anxiety, yeah. That's basically my specialty. Is I help entrepreneurs and families, people, couples as well, dealing with that transitional anxiety when they're basically ready to call it quits. They either do it in a powerful way, separating, or they get connected deeper than ever. And that same principle is the same when you're dealing with kind of a change, a career transition. And so the key is to never really have to do it. You don't have to do it alone. To go through someone who's been through a divorce, who's been through a career change, and is living to tell about it, and is helping hundreds of people across the world over the past few months with exactly the same thing. This is what I love to teach.
Yeah,
that's my superpower.
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely is, Nima. And I would say, just to wrap things up here, that obviously Nima and I came into each other's lives for that exact reason, that I have learned from his methodologies. We're both learning from each other, actually, with everything that we're doing. And we want to be able to support people to work through these transitional anxieties. And I think if you go to that link, go check out that, even just the video on the front there. I think you'll get a real insight into some of the other things you might learn, and even the value in hopping on a call with Nima as well. And feel free to reach out to me also, because ultimately we want to help you guys. And know that we've been there too. We're not sitting on the pedestal, as Nima mentioned throughout this conversation. We're not up here and you're down here. We're here with you, right? We want to be able to support you. And, Pearl, I see you mentioned there, it's hard because we're breaking new ground and even the government doesn't acknowledge the problem we're trying to help. It sounds like you have a passion for something that just needs to be seen through. And there's maybe things that are holding you back on doing that. And it could be from experiences. It could be from other people telling you that, like, what are you doing? You've been doing this for 5 years, for 10 years, you're hitting a wall. We believe in you. So, and you obviously believe in what you're doing. So I encourage you to reach out, and hopefully these have been helpful for you. And of course, we'll be back here again next week. We'll pick another topic. We don't even know what it is yet, but I hope you guys will join us. Here's a question from Shelly, Nima, just real quick. What's the difference between traditional versus identity change, or are they the same?
Traditional what?
I'm not sure I understand that.
Can you rephrase that question? I really would love to answer you. I'm just a little confused. What's the difference between traditional versus identity change? Oh, you mean transitional. Are you talking about that?
Oh, maybe that was it, yeah.
Transitional versus identity change, or are they the same? Yeah, they're the same. They are definitely the same. Identity crisis. This is my specialty. Going through this dark night of the soul, the transition between one space to another. There are certain shifts that you need to make in order to get there. And that's what I share in the training.
Awesome.
The shifts that are necessary. Yeah. So transitional anxiety, identity crisis. Exactly. Went through a massive identity crisis. And I had to go through a couple of, transitions, and it was pretty powerful. A few shifts. There's 5 shifts that you need to make in that transitional anxiety identity crisis. And this is exactly what you're asking, Shelly. Hopefully that you get some value out of that, because it's pretty neat. And I have some case studies there of people who've gone there. Yeah, definitely go check out that link, Shelly. And I think you speak to the case studies. Nima, I know when we first talked, you were referred to me by somebody that I trusted. So there was that level of like, okay, I'll give this person some of my time. But
then I saw just a few of the case studies of Nima working with people too, and where they were and where they wanted to be and what was blocking them in between, and the path that they took without even knowing what all the tools were. You could just see the change in these people and what they were able to accomplish and what they were working through. And it's really amazing. So do yourself a favor, go check out that link that I sent there. And
doing that, Trevor, I have to tell you, doing that basically is my purpose in life.
Yeah.
Helping people transit. It is my ultimate freedom, my ultimate joy, is watching people transition and then go from sick, stuck, stressed, anxious, depressed, to powerfully aligned with who they are, with a firm identity. People who are struggling with anxiety. One woman with anxiety medication for 30 years. She went off her medications, and she's in our group. Just a couple of weeks ago was the 1-year anniversary of when she went through the training that I went with her. She went through a complete, she got off of her meds 1 year ago, and she's like, I can't believe it. I have my feelings now. I experience sadness. I experience happiness. I experience joy. I experience pain. But when I was on the medication, I couldn't feel any of it. I was just kind of numb to the world, and I wasn't really experiencing love. And she's just, those types of things are why I left my chiropractic practice, which I love full time, to do this. So
yeah,
if that resonates, and definitely reach out. I'm happy to serve.
Absolutely. And we are aligned that way as well, because I've found my mission throughout the last, number of years, but even more so in the last few months, in that being that I am a teacher. I'm ultimately inspired by assisting other people getting from one place to the next. And ultimately where my strengths are is in business. It's in, being able to turn a passion into something that can, provide income for the family and ultimately balance too, and shortening that learning curve for people too. Because I've been through this, and that's what I think the common theme you guys are seeing here is that Nima and I aren't coming here on that pedestal, as I say, preaching down to everybody. We've been through the weeds on all of this stuff, and we're continuing to do the work ourselves, just like you are. And yeah, we'd love to connect with you. And thank you so much for being here. I see a couple other people we didn't acknowledge here too. Josh says, just what I needed. Thanks. Awesome, Josh. Glad you're able to make it. Janie says same. Shelly, Pearl, Chris, good to see you here as well. And we'll see you tomorrow, of course. So thanks very much, everyone. Thank you for being here. If you got any other further questions, reach out to us. Leave comments down below. If you're watching this in the replay, we're going to see all that stuff as well, too. So, Nima, thank you once again for doing this, and we will chat with you soon.
Mad love.